Oh, what happened in Moscow region, Russia? It seems like they have lights just coming from their cars and some of the distant lights as well, but the major part of the Moscow Oblast is without electricity. Those blackouts touched 600,000 people, so it seems like that Zelensky said about blackouts in Moscow, he was not joking. Russians were telling, oh, now there are blackouts in Ukraine, not in Russia, not in Moscow region, but here we go. Definitely it is happening, and it's happening massively. It has never been like that in Moscow. Also, in multiple of the occupied regions of Ukraine, there are blackouts, and they're quite significant. The local occupation administrations have reported about the very terrible situation with the power supplies, substations, and power plants, which went out of service presumably by Ukrainian drone strikes. Oh, guys, we have some breaking news coming from Moscow region. Russia deployed generators, freaking generators to power those districts where they're out of the electricity. But it's not enough. Again, it's the PR stunt. You see, they're going, MCS, so emergency services, but it's not enough to power up all of the buildings. More than 500,000 people without electricity, and they are sending those vehicles, few of them. Come on, it's just for love. I just wonder how the residence of Putin is doing in Valdai. Allegedly it was hit yesterday or the day before yesterday. There was different information coming from Putin, and I'm gonna add some more information to that sensitive topic in this video, but now let's concentrate on other news, because I think they play the greater role than just attempt of Russia to undermine peace efforts. If we may say about peace efforts, it's just nothing burger. Alright, there are also the strikes on Donetsk airfield reported just right now. It's very important because Russia based their Shahid launching systems there, right at the apron, on taxiways and on runway. For a very long time I was thinking why Ukraine is not targeting those positions. Well, now it seems like Ukraine definitely nailed those with the help of FP1 and FP2 drones. Usually the job is being performed by Magyar drone unit, and this is also Donetsk Oblast, occupied territory, where Magyar demolished some of the Russian positions. Not just on territory of Donetsk airport Russia is placing those systems, but elsewhere also ammunition storages were hit as well. Lots of the aims and Magyar drone units, they're just fantastic. And yes, every night there are long-range drones flying to hit Russian facilities, military bases, logistics, and also refineries. Lots of the infrastructure. And just now we have this report from the Rovenki oil and fuel base that was used by the Russian army. It's the occupied territory of Ukraine. Well, this facility is no more. That will help actually to stop Russian offensive actions, because for any sort of the assault, except infantry assaults, because for any sort of the assault, including, by the way, infantry, Russia needs logistics. They need to even send infantry initially with the help of Ural vehicles, trucks, or UAZ Bukhanka vans, not even telling about the refueling of their tanks and BMPs. Oh, what happened, Russians? Is something wrong? Happy New Year! Just one more firework, you know? Yeah, it's the Tuapse Russian port, Russian oil infrastructure. Once again it was hit. It was hit before multiple of the times, and here we have it. Yay!
Нихуясь, это, бля, ёлочка горит!
Oh, this reaction, it's always funny. They say, oh my god, what the present! Okay, you need to know Russian to understand, but this is hilarious. Just definitely to upset oil. It seems like storage is no-go. And it seems like we have the object that was targeted this night by Ukraine. That's the refinery of Tuapse. Not just there is the oil storage and oil port, but refinery too. It's like a huge hub in Russia, this Tuapse. And refinery is no-go, it seems like. This very important facility is on fire. A distillation plant, as usual. The most sensitive is being hit by Ukraine. Fantastic. One more from Topse. Absolutely fantastic crash site of the drone. And if we check out the statistics of the Ukrainian aerostrikes on Russian energy, definitely we see a huge rise in October and also, I guess, in November, December. You might say that this year is the record one. Before Ukraine also hit some of the Russian facilities, then Donald Trump came to power. There was probably some negotiation to ceasefire against the Russian energy infrastructure, but Russia continued the strikes on Ukraine. That's why Ukraine rapidly increased those strikes, and since August this year, it harmed the Russian economy pretty much well, a lot. So Ukraine sharply increased the strikes on Russian energy infrastructure in December, carrying out at least 24 attacks, so almost one attack per day. I mean, big attack on big refineries or LNG facilities against supply lines, connections, whatsoever. So Russia suffers a lot, as well as the Russian economy under those kinetic sanctions, which are very effective. Yeah, everything of that is mentioned here, refineries, pipelines, and it was fantastic strike again on Novorossiysk. Yes, Novorossiysk renewed its operation, but I guess not for long. Soon Ukraine will obtain some special tools to get rid of the infrastructure in Novorossiysk once and for all. Also, the new image was released of how SBU kaboomed one of the oil platforms in the Caspian Sea. Well, before it was just proclaimed that those been hit, but now we have this evidence of the real strike, probably performed by FP2 drones really far away from Ukrainian territory. Caspian Sea is absolutely not close. Yes, of course, this platform cannot be kaboomed completely with the help of the single drone strike, but it means that Ukraine may perform those attacks on that long distance, which is the substantial threat for Russians to operate to drill the oil even in Caspian. Alright, and now let's go to the frontline updates. The group of the Russian soldiers has arrived for rotation. With their feet, with their legs, advancing towards Ukrainian positions. They were spotted by Ukrainian surveillance drones, and of course they were flatlined. We have this information published just right away. Well, as it is reported, they are flatlined, but I don't have the final confirmation video, so I'm still waiting for it. Well, judging on what I see, Russia definitely sends a large amount of the infantry. Yeah, we have the comment from Ukrainian channels. Ukrainian Armed Forces Reconnaissance UAV captures a huge column of Russian soldiers who arrived for rotation to the line of combat. It is reported that the group was destroyed by the strike drones, but no any other videos are shown here so far, so I will monitor this one and later on update you about it. And about the front line itself, judging on the military map, there were no drastic changes happened for the last 24 hours. Russia continued to push in Mirnograd. According to the deep state military map analysis, Russia moved a little bit to the city center. They took maybe a couple of the streets and also this portion of the ground, but actually deep state gives, I would say, outdated a little bit information. Currently the positions of the Russian army is something like that, and Ukraine controls just the small part of the settlement. Mainly Ukraine has withdrawn the forces from Mirnograd, so it's just a gray zone here. Maybe for now we just do not have the robust confirmation about the presence of the main Russian armed forces in Mirnograd. Some of the infiltrations, yes, but I would say that Ukraine is not out there. Maybe in this western outskirt, just few of the forces. Few groups, I mean, of Ukrainian infantry, but mainly the withdrawal has already happened for the Christmas. In Hulaypole, it's hard for Ukraine to regain the initiative despite sending some of the capable brigades, elite forces to Ukraine. I think it's too late to enter the central part of the town and attempt to get rid of Russians here because they created their bridgeheads and the urban environment is pretty much good for this mission for Russians. It's not like in Kupiansk because of the geography there. It was quite more or less, I would say, easy for Ukrainians to cut Russian supplies. In Hulaypole, it's not like that. Russia has this territorial control of the eastern side of the southern areas. So in any case, they have supply lines for Hulaypole, even behind this river. So I think that the mission to cut Russians in Gulai like it was in Kupiansk, it will not happen like that. Well, there was an attempt of the Ukrainian army to counterattack, and unfortunately Ukraine lost 2 of the vehicles. I said about it in my yesterday's video. Today I have clarification and confirmation. Yesterday I said that there were no infantry losses for Ukraine. I was wrong. I watched the full video, and definitely Russians hit even infantry from BMP. They finished them. It's terrible. That's why this attack was not good from Ukrainian side. It failed. It also means that Russia is using lots of the drones in Zaporizhia Oblast. It becomes their #1 priority. I would say after Pokrovsk, Russia definitely wants to go to Zaporizhia closer, and they definitely move from the southern area to Primorsk. At least their small infantry groups were spotted here, but actually for Russians it is easier to go from Rivnopilya and Gulai if they penetrate Ukrainian defense to Zaporizhia, because there are less defense lines compared to this southern front line. Let's check out the deep state military map. We have the update from Syria's direction, just the light Russian advancement. They took a couple of the fields. They also took a very small village of Pazeno. It was yesterday, today. Clarification sent by deep state military map, and little by little Russians are moving towards Slavyansk. Probably the next year they're gonna reach the outskirts of this city. Yeah, Pazeno and all of those updates from this area. Also Russians moved in Andriivka. That's the Sumy Oblast actually. Before Ukraine was successful, but now Russia moved just a little bit. Well, Putin also ordered the Russian army to finally create those buffer areas in Sumy and in Kharkiv Oblast, because Putin really afraid for security of Russia. But Putin says about the buffer areas to justify his attack on Ukrainian new territories that he hasn't yet put in the Russian constitution, Sumy Oblast and Kharkiv. And we have the information from the Russian military maps about their presence in Moskovka village. That's how they call this village. About Ukrainian name, I forgot actually what is this name. But, well, anyways, Russia sent some of the infantry reinforcements, some of the occasional groups of Russians. Well, later on they were spotted by Ukrainian drones and flatlined. Nevertheless, it was enough for the Russian TASS media propaganda service to spread this misinformation that Russia definitely is out there in Kupiansk. That's basically the Antichrist video, a usual one already for propaganda. Then Russians go somewhere with the flags or without the flags, and their presence is being spotted by the drones and later on shown as, oh, Russia controlled this area or that settlement. Kupiansk city is still under Russian control, but actually no, it's not like that. Still, there is the presence of Russians in Kupiansk, yes, but just occasionally. Small groups of the forces. They have enclaves in, I guess, 1 or 2 of the districts, and Ukraine is working to nail them down completely. The unit Observer Analytic tells us that the 12th Azov Brigade finally joins its present corps on the front line. It was previously deployed to Konstantinivka direction, and now it's been sent to Dobropilya. I think it is must-have, because Ukraine should reinforce this direction of Dobropilya, because the Russians, they have multiple of the attack attempts, convoys, infantry. All of that is being sent to regain control over even Zoloty Kolodets, where previously Russia broke through, but for now it's not possible for them to make it happen. Alright, today I filmed a video about the economy stagflation in Russia, and here we have one more factor. The Russian Gazprom company has debt. It's not just a regular debt, but it ruins the entire Russian gas industry. And the good news that Russia's pipeline gas exports to Europe fall by 44% to the lowest in decades. For the last 50 years, that's the lowest volume. Before, robust pipelines were built between Soviet Union and European countries to supply Russian fossil fuels. Now it's simply not functioning because Europeans, little by little, they refuse to purchase Russian oil and gas. The plan for our partners is to get rid of the Russian gas by 2027. Hopefully, they will do it faster than that, but I like this plan. Yeah, still, European economy is very dependent on Russian fossil fuels, but they're looking for alternates. It should have been done a long time ago, but those European politicians, officials, and bureaucrats, for a very, very long time, they thought that it's better to support or be calm about the Russian aggression towards multiple of the countries, including Chechnya, Georgia, and Ukraine later on, and just, to consume cheap resources of Russia. They did it just for their greedy purposes. Yes, in a way, they supported their local economies by those cheap resources, but at the same time, they traded security. The Russian regime and the Russian army were built with the help of the European money, and now Donald Trump wants to make the similar deal, maybe to help Russia even more. Alright, this is hilarious. Russian propagandists, they asked the Kremlin spokesman Peskov whether they have the evidence of the definite Ukrainian drone attack attempt on the Putin's residency in Valdai. Well, Peskov answered that no, they don't need to show the evidence. It was a drone strike, we're telling you. That shows that it's just a pure fake. They want everyone to believe in this nonsense. Well, I'm sure that Ukraine didn't send those drones to Putin's residency because it's just useless. Putin has the most of the air defense accumulated around his palaces or offices, so it's hard to break through, and those kind of the strikes may not be effective. Yeah, there is just a low probability that with the long-range drones you can harm something out there, but with FPV maybe some sneaky peeking in particular vehicle could be, could not be, who knows, but Ukraine will never do those strikes because they're useless on Putin personally. On Russian infrastructure, yes, but Putin, it's not possible to harm him because those drones, they're spotted well before Russia has surveillance, and as Russia says, they shut down those drones in Bryansk region. So Bryansk is really far away from Valdai. How did they know that those drones were flying to reach Putin's residency? It's impossible to tell. So basically those claims that Ukraine tries to hit Putin with that, they're for nothing. It is just for Donald Trump personally to make him believe that Ukraine is not willing to follow his peace deal and escalates. That's the reason. Also, we have the comment from Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov. He mentioned that Ukraine should not obtain any sort of the security guarantees from Europe and from NATO because it violates everything, with those drone attacks on Putin. Crazy. They really take it so personally. This myth that was created, they believe in that themselves, it seems like. It's just a theater. And one of our experts here says that it seems that in Berlin and in Mar-a-Lago, Ukraine was offered a really strong package of guarantees, which Russia could never accept. And they used this fake strike on Putin to push Trump and not agree on security guarantees for Ukraine and basically to continue the war. So Putin simply cannot refuse straightforward to Donald Trump that I'm not accepting this peace deal. No. He wants the excuse, and the excuse is basically nothing burger that sadly was supported by some of the countries like India, Pakistan, United Arab Emirates. They condemned the possible Ukrainian strike on Putin, which is nonsense, but it's their foreign policy. Zelensky already commented that, saying that strangely that those countries, they do not condemn Russian attacks on Ukrainians. Then Russia targets Ukrainian hospitals, civilian buildings, causing lots of the life losses to children, women, men, everyone. Russians do not care. It's the terrorist state, but no, they condemn the strikes on Putin. So I would say fuck those officials who say like that. I'm sorry for using this slur, but I don't have other words to explain. I hope you understand. Again, I'm sorry. The French intelligence already reported that there is no evidence of the possible Ukrainian strike on Putin's residency. Officials report about it, including President Macron in Le Monde. This information was published. Alright, Belarus army showed Oreshnik is being deployed to one of the military airfields. They are not even masking it too much. They show this propaganda video. And again, it's understandable if they're not hiding. It means that it's only a PR stunt threat against West. Nothing less, nothing more. If you really want to use some sort of the weaponry, you hide it. You do not show it to everyone. Of what mighty weapons we have. Well, Zelensky, even before, told that they know the placement of Oreshnik. They may tell to the Western intelligence, but Belarus did it for Zelensky. They uncovered the position. It is already evident with everything. I think with the modern satellite intelligence, it's impossible to really hide Oreshnik. Yeah, the position is already spotted in Krychov 6 military airfield, Mogilov Oblast, not far away from the Russian border. Meanwhile, Russia has attacked 2 of the commercial vessels in the Black Sea. Both of the vessels were heading towards Odessa ports to take grains and deliver them to the third countries. You may see the damage done by allegedly drone strikes. And immediately those so-called pro-Russian experts start to say it's the response of Russia on Ukrainian attacks on the Russian tankers. But no, Russia did those strikes even before Ukrainian strikes on the Russian tankers. Not Russian tankers, but the tankers which carried the Russian crude oil. Those are definitely the legitimate target for Ukraine because they directly fuel the Russian war machine. And here are the grains which go to, as I say to you, the third countries. Those countries are usually from so-called global south, and they tolerate the Russian policy, as we understand already with some of their reactions on the alleged attack on Putin's residency. By the way, it's kind of interesting that China didn't say any sort of the word about that Russian claim. Those European bureaucrats continue to spread the Russian propaganda. Belgian Prime Minister, if we use Russian assets to finance the war, then we also assume that Russians will be exhausted in 2 years. A Tsar like Putin can do everything, starve his people, lead them to the slaughter and organize genocide. But lose the war? He cannot do that. So it's clearly a Russian propaganda. Then Russia says Russia never loses the wars. Russia is undefeatable. So in this case, give up to Russia. Like, what's the sense of fighting against Russia if you really believe in that bullshit? And Belgian Prime Minister, just shut the fuck up, because no one says about those frozen Russian assets any longer. It's already understandable that you are against confiscation. Stupid prick. Again, I'm sorry, guys, because I understand that some people may watch me with families. I'm sorry. I will try to not to use those words. Just sometimes I'm too emotional. Yeah. Russian losses in Ukraine rise faster than ever as the United States pushes for peace deal. Definitely, United States, they are doing everything to save Russia nowadays. And the Russian losses, they're the record. So the intensity of the war, I would say it's the same as it was in the beginning of the last year, maybe a little more than spring, let's say. But in 2024, I would say that intensity sometimes was even higher. And tomorrow I'm going to film a big video about recap what happened this year. It's going to be a new year. I'm going to start the stream on another channel, on Twitch, on Kick as well, on YouTube. For everything of that, check out the links. And tomorrow I'm going to film the Russian territorial gains and what they managed to capture in 2025. Spoiler, not big towns even. Yeah, that's the success of the Russian army. Yeah, what is kind of interesting and unusual that Zelensky commented the part of the conversation between him and Donald Trump where they discussed a possible presence of the United States troops in Ukraine. We are discussing with President Trump this presence. It's kind of outstanding. No one expected that discussion because before Donald Trump said many times that the United States Army will not be deployed to Ukraine. And now it seems like those will be the part of the security guarantees. Not will be, but could be. Yeah, in this case, But actually, that doesn't matter that much. If Russia doesn't want to stop, no matter what forces or who might deploy those to Ukraine, the deployment is only possible after the ceasefire, and Russia doesn't want to have it. So we're not speaking about post-war things. We need, first of all, ceasefire, and Russia doesn't want. So basically, it's nothing burger again. Well, guys, that was the brief analysis of the events that happened just recently. Yesterday, today, and tomorrow, as usual, there will be a new update. If you want to make my job happening, you are very welcome to support me on Patreon. If you watch me on YouTube, you may press the join button to join the membership. It's somewhere below. And if on Spotify, you may just subscribe. And don't forget also to press the like to this video to boost it in YouTube algorithms. Thank you so much, guys. I wish you all a peaceful sky wherever you are, and have a great time.